Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Controlled Chaos. I had another plan for today's episode. I was going to do something that's kind of a downer. I'm not going to lie. Something that was kind of moody and probably going to bring me down. But I decided not to do that. I'm having a really great day. We're good. Everything is going great over here. So I'm going to do a story time today instead. I was talking to my friend. She just participated in the Chicago Marathon. And we got on the topic of cross country. I used to run cross country in high school, and I was like, oh my God, that would be a great topic to discuss on my podcast. I love sharing this story. I've told this story before. This experience is very, very fun and exciting for me. It's a part of I would consider it a part of my development as well. And yeah, the sport cross country, it just holds a very monumental space in my life, and I want to share it with you today. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I'll tell you a story time of my cross country journey days. Before we begin, there's a few things surface level that people think about when about the sport cross country. They automatically think of strict diets, most likely, and then running for a long, long time, and people running for fun, and I guess just like the injuries that come with it. I can definitely share and explain that I have had my many fair share of injuries in the past, and I'm happy to go through with you all of those today. But some other things that mean the most to me are just like the team. We had a very, very family-like team. My cross-country coach was by far the best coach that I have ever had in my entire life. And I've played multiple sports, and I've had many different coaches. I'm a coach myself. And to this day, my cross-country coach is just the best one out of all of them. She was incredible. She was amazing. And she's helped me more than she even knows it. I want to first start off by explaining what cross-country is to someone who maybe doesn't have the sport at their school, or maybe they just don't know what it all consists of. It's a running sport, of course, where athletes run on different types of courses in natural terrain. So, like, you can run on a flat field, hills, grass, mud, creeks, like anything that you can think of that's just not specific to, like, a track, like track and field would be, or etc. Like, cross-country runners will run everywhere and anywhere. The distance is 5 kilometers, so it's 3.1 miles. Runners will compete for their individual time or via point system that they collect for the team. So that's kind of the broad overview of how the sport works. In high school, I started running cross country in the 8th grade. High schoolers will run the 3.1 miles or the 5 kilometers, but I think middle schoolers run a little bit less than that. They'll run, I think it's maybe like 1.5 to 2 miles, so it's less. It's much shorter distance. And I don't think I want to say that the courses aren't as like tough as like what high school level would be. And then of course college level is much longer. I won't go into college level cross country today because, to be honest, I didn't do that, and I don't want to spread information that I don't know anything about. So just for today's episode, I'm going to talk about high school cross country. So the scoring is kind of confusing. I had someone once tell me that the scoring is a lot like golf. Like, ideally, you want to score the lowest amount of points for your team. I've never played golf, so I don't know anything about it. But if that's a lot like golf, then then yeah, that's basically what it would be. So on a cross country team, you can have any number amount of people on your roster, whether it's 10, 20, 30. I came from a really, 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 really small school, so we always only ever had like less than like 8 or 9 people on a team. And this would be for girls, and then there's a separate guys team as well. There's never going to be there would never be like a co-ed competing team at a single time. Certain meets where you are competing via point system would only allow for 7 people competing at a single time. So only your top 7 runners are the most important ones for the point system. And certain meets have them. So you could, by the way, what I mean by meets is that it's just a fancy word that we call races. The races are called meets. So I'm going to say that a lot. But certain meets will be more important than others, which they're known as like conference meets, where it's either conference or district meets, one of those. I think they mean the same things. But basically, you have your top 7 runners that are the most important for the point system. And then if you have runners 8 and 9, then, or 10 or whatever the number is, their points necessarily wouldn't count because it would just kind of mean just extra bodies running on the field. So that's kind of what I have gathered from it. Like I said, I came from a small school, so like we only really focused on the top 7 because that was what was required to run at state. So before I get into the point system, I'll explain what the different important meets are. I know this is probably like already very boring because I'm just explaining to you what the sport is, but I promise I'm going to get into all of what my personal experiences are and all the stuff. We always kind of took our conference meets as like fun meets, like kind of practice meets, because we just kind of knew our schools and we knew that we would do pretty well. And then regional meets goes to conference. Or not conference, state. Holy shit. Okay, let me take 2 steps back before I already start frickin' confusing you. Okay, so you have your conference meets. You progress from conference to regional meets. You progress from regional meets, also known as area meets. I know, these meets have 2 different names. Conference and regional. No, fuck. Conference and district progress to area and regional. Regional and area progress to state championship. Basically, that's the hierarchy. Okay, now you understand the whole meet process. Holy mother of pearl. A little bit of background about our team. We were fucking amazing. We were amazing. And I know it seems biased because this is something that I'm talking about my team. I'm talking about my school. I'm making it seem like we're, the best. We were the best. We were. That was just a fact. We were built like fucking racehorses. And we just dominated. I don't know what it was. And there was only 7 of us. We had a very tiny team. So like sometimes we would show up at these meets and we would have to compete against like 5A, 6A, 7A schools that had like thousands of kids attending the classes. And I only graduated with 88 kids in my class. We were 1A public. And yeah, we were so tiny, but we were so fucking good. It was there's so much to tell from that experience, just solely the fact of how good we were. And there's also so much truth behind the fact that like it was never just like luck. It was never luck. It was never we just had it like better training than everyone else. Like we weren't born to like run or born to be fast or none of that. The amount of hard work and dedication and teamwork that went into what our team was and why we were so good. I mean, those were just the biggest things ever. We were so fucking dedicated and we were so we just wanted to win. And I've never, with all like the sports that I've played or all the years that I've played sports, I've never, when I joined my cross country team, I never doubted that, okay, this is another level. Like this is insane. So there's a little bit of background. There's so many things that I want to explain. So I'll go back to the scoring. I was talking about the meets. I talked about like the sizes and everything. Now I'm going to talk about the scoring, because this kind of this was us like strategizing on how to win, essentially. So the way that the scoring works, the only thing that matters in the placing is how close you are to your teammate while you're running. So, for example, the top 7 runners that we had, I'll tell you all of their names. The first one, and this was kind of based on mile time, speed, and all that stuff. But we had Hannah. She was the number 1 girl she always ran in like our number 1 spot. Then after that, we had Tara. Right after Tara, there was Taylor. Right after Taylor was me. I was number 4 spot. Number 5 was Lydia. Number 6 was Haley. Number 7 was Sarah. We kind of, when we ran, that's where our placement was in the races, and we never left our spots. I mean, if there were moments when, like, for example, like, I would run faster than Taylor, then yeah, for that specific race, like, I would be there. But for the most part, that was based on our level. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, whenever you're like running in PE class and they're making you do the mile, you keep that same pace every lap. That's kind of where you're at. Like, there's a word for it that I'm not going to look up, but it's your placement. It's like a happy medium where you are, depending on where you are in your mile time, right? So that was dependent. Like, there were some meets where like I could like drop back and be placed at like 6th or 7th spot. And then there were some meets where I could like speed up and be like 1st or 2nd. But like, you're running 3 miles, like pacing yourself and staying within a window where you're not going to kill yourself while you're running is the most important. And where I'm getting at, that was dependent on what place you were in, in your lineup. I feel like I'm going way too fast, because I do want to like give more of a background. Let me go back to why I started cross country in the first place. Why I started, what the situation was, what happened, and all that jazz. So it all started in 8th grade when I had PE for first period. PE to start my day. I didn't pick that. That was not something that I was like, oh my God, I want to work out first thing in the morning when I go to school. There were actually moments where it kind of sucked, where I would just wake up, hop on the bus, go to school, and I would have to like run basically on an empty stomach, because I oftentimes wouldn't eat breakfast. Yeah, there was no reason as to why I had PE for my first period. I think it just like ended up falling out to be that way. It was one of the first or second weeks of school when we had just started. Cross country season is from August to November of the fall semester. So it was one of the first or 2 weeks before the season had started. Mind you, before any of this, I had never, ever, ever, ever considered running cross country, ever. I played soccer for 10 years in my life, and I was a freaking band kid. Like, other than like the soccer, I did marching band, and that's all I did. Like, I considered myself an athlete because I had played soccer for so long, but like, I wasn't like this like agile runner that just was hiding a secret freaking athleticism in their pocket. Like, I was a band kid. I played instruments, and I did the color guard, and that's pretty much all I did. I didn't do anything else. And one day I just showed up for PE class, and we had to do the mile, and I wanted to kill myself, and we did it. And after I did the mile, Coach Ledford came up to me, She was a high school cross country coach, but she wasn't coaching the PE class, I don't think. We had another coach, but she happened to be there on the track when we were doing the mile. So I think she saw us first thing in the morning. Um Anyways, she came up to me after I ran my mile and she asked me, "What was your mile time?" And she had me go up to the coach that was coaching our PE class. I don't even remember his name. And he said Jasmine's mile time was 6:12. 6 minutes and 12 seconds. I didn't know what that meant. I was just running. And Coach Ledford was like, she needs to join my cross country team right now. And I was just like, I don't really know how that's going to work because I know cross country and marching band are at the same time. And I don't even know if I want to run cross country. Like, I don't know, like, this is coming out of left field. And lo and behold, she ended up convincing me. She was like, all you have to do is just like try to come to like one practice. Like, come to one practice, come to one tryout, like just try out for the team, just meet everyone. Like, she really convinced me. And I was of the you know, I felt pretty good about myself because she said that I had a really good mile time. So automatically I was like not willing to say no because yeah, she told me that I did really well and I just wasn't going to pass up what she was telling me cuz I was like kind of gassed up. I was like, "Oh my god, she told me I had a really great like mile time for like a girl and all this stuff and like I don't even know what that means." But for some reason I just listened to her. And I tried out and I attended practice for like a week. And I remember I was like so into it and I really liked it. And I came home from school and I told my mom, I was like, I want to join the cross country team. And she was all on board with it because she knew I was psychotic. And everyone on the team like wanted me to join too. Like, I made some friends from it and whatnot. And it ended up like working out really, really well for me until our school's athletic director got involved. And he basically told me, he's like, you cannot join cross country because you cannot do two sports in the same season. You're doing marching band. You cannot do cross country. They go at the same time. I think the reason for not allowing me was probably some kind of liability. And also just the fact that I was just going to be juggling practices at the same time because cross country was 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and we had Friday off, which was honestly perfect for me because I had to be present for the football games anyways to, you know, march the halftime performance, to participate in prep rallies, you know, all the shenanigans that we do in band on Fridays. So it ended up working out perfect for me. But basically that conversation with the athletic director was like, you're not participating in this, you know, you're not coming to practice today. Like, he was an asshole. He was an asshole. Even to this day, I'm just like, every time like I'm talking about it right now and I'm like throwing up a little bit in my mouth. He sucked. So I went home and I was pretty disappointed. I told my mom like, hey, because I do this, I'm not allowed to like run cross country. And like, she was upset. So, you know, that was just it. I came home, or I went to school the next morning and I had PE first period. And Coach Ledford had a jersey ready for me for the team. And she was like, you've made the team. Like, come back to practice. And I was like, but the athletic director told me that I can't join the team. And she was like, no, you're joining the team. You're running. I have convinced him. I've changed his mind. And then from there on out, I ended up joining. Of course, there were a few things that I had to kind of like commit to. Like, I had to commit to time management and punctuality, of course, because I was doing two sports at one time. And we nailed it down. We nailed it down perfectly. my teacher let me leave my last period of the class, of like my final period, my final block or something, like 5-10 minutes early so that I can change into my cross country uniform. And then I would go and run the course that Coach Ledford would give me, like 30 minutes to like, practices were like 30 minutes to like 45 minutes, somewhere around there. Sometimes when they were longer, like they would cap it like 1 hour, but that's how long cross country practices were. They were never ever longer than 1 hour unless there were like announcements or something that were made at practice. And then right after practice, I would run down to the band room or the football field or wherever marching band practice was, and I would practice with them. I'm going to do a separate episode about marching band, but, and I've already mentioned it too much in this episode, but I did end up easily juggling both of the practices. It did actually end up really great for me. There were some days where I would get there and Coach Ledford would say, here's the course, go run it, and then when you're done, just leave. So there'd be a lot of times where I just would not run with the team because I was juggling that. But for the most part, it ended up working out great for me in the end. But yeah, that like pretty much sucked. I mentioned the lineup already of the girls. There was never, even though it was a group of girls on a team, there was never ever any drama with them. That's kind of a lie. There was drama with none except for one girl, and it was the 7th spot girl, Sarah. She was a bitch. She was a bitch primarily because she was the principal's daughter, and I remember when I first joined the team, she didn't like that I joined. Like, I don't know if it was jealousy. I don't know if she was just afraid that I was going to join the team and steal all of her friends. I don't know what it was, but like she didn't like me when I first joined. And, I never really understood why, but I remember she would just always make condescending comments. Like, she'd be like, are you sure you're going to be able to like juggle the two, like marching band and cross country? Like, there's a few things that Coach Ledford hasn't told you. Like, this is a pretty hard sport. Like, it's not, I don't know if you're prepared for it. Like, she would just kind of like get in my head. And like I said, I don't know if it was ever like jealousy or protection of her spot in our lineup, because like I was placed number 4 in the lineup. Like, I didn't even replace her as number 7 because let's be honest, like, let me be completely honest. My mile time was much faster than hers. So I was not going to take over her spot because that was my skill level at that time was a little bit higher than hers. So like there was like, she was going to keep her spot. I wasn't going to take it. I was just going to move up in the roster higher than her. And I think that's what, yeah, I think that's like primarily, like, that's probably what it was. Is probably like mere jealousy or just the fact that like I probably was going to steal her friends. But like I never really did anything like that. Like I didn't like steal people's friends, or like I didn't even really join the team just solely to like meet new people and to talk to people. Like, I joined the team because I was good and I wanted to run, and I wanted to, when it came to this girl and her saying all the things that she did when I first joined the team, it like kind of lit a fire in my ass. Like, I got to a point where I was like, oh, I'm going to be good. Like, I'm going to put my dedication in. I'm going to put the time in, and I'm actually going to try and succeed really well at this sport. Like, I don't know. I got to a point where I was like, I'm not going to listen to what anyone, because I was just told all of these things by the athletic director, and then now the principal's daughter is like coming after me for certain things. Like, I don't know if it's out of jealousy or what it is, but it was kind of like two stones coming at me, and I was like, I'm going to put that time in. So like when I was going home, I was doing all of my dynamic workouts that we were instructed by Coach Ledford, and I was running on the weekends, even on days when maybe I was supposed to be resting, but like I was putting that time in because I wanted to get better and I wanted to get really good. So that was kind of like my first year. It was always so nice having PE class as my first period because I always started my day off right with Coach Ledford in her class. She was nutrition certified. So even though, we weren't her direct clients for that, she always asked us what we had for breakfast, what we ate for dinner. Like that was one thing about her. She was always on top of what our nutrition was and what we were putting into our bodies. And to be honest, now looking back at it, I think that was one of the primary reasons why we did as good as we did, because she had such a hold on what we were putting into our bodies. And in retrospect, that may seem like it sounds really controlling and crazy. It wasn't, because there was always reason and there was always a structure around what she recommended to us. You know what I mean? Like she would never be like, okay, well, you should cut out all carbs and all sugar and just all fat entirely, and you can never eat a lollipop or ice cream ever. Like, no, that was never her. She was just more so like, okay, try to substitute like your pizza for steak or something. Like, she would always just recommend certain things. So there were many mornings where I would come into her class, and because she knew what practice was going to be like, she would be like, what did you eat for breakfast today? And I would say some dumb shit like an apple. And she'd be like, that's unacceptable. And I would say, I'm actually just kidding. I had bacon and sausage. And she'd be like, I feel like you're lying, but that's okay. That's better. Like, that's kind of always what our conversations would be. Or before we would go home after practice, she'd be like, what are you guys eating for dinner? Like, what are you guys having for dinner today? Or she'd recommend certain things like, eat chicken or eat this or eat that. Like, ask your parents if they can make this for dinner tonight. Like she was always on top of what we were putting into our bodies. In terms of the courses, the practices that we would run, Coach Ledford always designed them herself. There was never a booklet that she would follow of like, today the runners should do this or do that. The location of where our school was, the location was Northeast Georgia. We were in the mountains. That's exactly where my hometown was. That's exactly where the school was. Our school was literally on a hill in the middle of the woods. Like there was no like flat land that we really had. We were surrounded by creeks and rocks and mountains and hills. And so 99.99% of the courses that we ran were based on what we had at our school, which later ended up working out in our favor in hindsight, because when we were prepared, like when we were used to running hills and rocky mountains all the time, and we would go to the meets where it's nothing but flat land, we dominated it because we were used to running on such difficult level courses. And there was always a different course depending on the day. So like the day before any meets that we had were recovery days. So they were always shorter courses. It would be like 1 mile or 2 miles. Like it would just be a very light recovery day before a meet. Wednesdays were speed days. Most god-awful day that we ever ran during the week. All of us dreaded speed days. They were horrible because it was just like a full 30 minutes to 45 minutes of nothing but sprints. And it would be all different types of sprints. So it'd be like long sprints. It would be short sprints. It would be uphill sprints, downhill sprints. Like whatever it would be, we would just sprint for 30 minutes long. And it was so fucking difficult. There were, like, at this point with cross country, like, throwing up during a course, like, no one gets fazed by that anymore because it happens so often. Whether it's like throwing up or, face planting from pure exhaustion and like heat exhaustion or whatever it is, merely like peeing ourselves because, we're out there in practice in the middle of the woods and like there's really no place for us to like go to a bathroom because we're 30 minutes in and it's like we have to go. People passing out, like, none of that. I thought there was a point where like none of that was like, we were not fazed by that anymore because it just happens so often. And you're playing a sport where you have to, it's all about pushing yourself to like past its limit. And when other people see a sport like that, they think it could be really deteriorating and unhealthy, but I fucking loved it. And I was addicted to it. And just the runner's high that you would get after a meet, people cheering on you, people that you don't even know, strangers who just run up to you with like cold packs and water bottles and food and sugar and candy. Like, we would run a meet and someone would just hand you like a Twizzler out of nowhere. And it's like people that would just, that was another thing at meets. I know I'm like spiraling. Meets were never like a raunchy competitive thing. Like, it was never like everyone's got their horns out and they're like, we are taking you down. Like, even against our rival schools, it was never like that. Everyone was supportive of everyone when they were running. Everyone. Like, you would be at the finish line and your rival school would just be on the side, like, cheering you on because you know that you're involved in a sport where everyone is doing their fucking best and everyone is just pushing themselves past their limits. And everyone, like, you're literally like running next to someone that has an equal mile time than you, and it's like neck and neck to the finish line, and you have just pee rolling down your leg and you can't do anything about it. Like, that's like what it was. You are going to death, like to the end with this shit. And I loved it, and it was amazing. One of the things that I realized were super, super helpful for us were the Wednesday speed days. They were so horrible, and we all hated Coach Ledford for putting us through all that shit, that we were like, at this point, I think it's just torture. I think she's mad at us about something. But when we showed up to the meets and we had the agility and the stamina to face 3.1 miles, it looked like speed day was the easiest day ever for us. Like, we just got to a point where we were like, we can fucking do anything because our practices are miserable. Our practices sucked. That's another thing. There were some days, like Mondays were the longest practice days that we had because it was a day after like many days off because we'd have Friday off. And then, of course, the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, where there'd be no school or no anything. Mondays would come around and we would run like far longer than 3.1 miles because Ledford wanted to get to a point where we saw 3.1 as nothing. And it very much well did become that way. Like, for example, every single Monday, we would run like freaking like 5 miles. We'd run 5 miles. And the next Monday would be a progression. It'd be like 6 miles. And it was always like, why are we running so much longer than what the meet actually requires of us? Like, why? And it got to a point where it was so beneficial and it was so incredible for us that we saw 3.1 miles as nothing. And it didn't like get to a point where it was so easy. Like I said, like there's so many things that factor into it. Like, you have to fuel your body with the correct nutrition, with the correct food. Like, you can't just, like, once you get to a point where you're like, oh, I can do 5 miles, like nothing, like that 3.1 is nothing. But because that's just not true. That's not true. Especially when you're a girl, like, you have hormones, and we would get our periods and sometimes run these meets and these practices on our periods. That was also another thing. We were synced up all the time. All the time. Because we were a group of girls that was constantly put together in a space. Constantly. So it was inevitable that our periods were going to be synced up. Another thing that's kind of like weird is that we also rarely got our periods. we got our periods probably like every 2 months or so, which is terrifying in hindsight, but you're doing high intensity exercise for 4 months in, a school year. It's kind of bound that your hormones are going to be a little messed up and you're not going to get your period. And if we did get our period, it was super, super light and it would last like only 3 days. But we did sync up. Our hormones were definitely the same, which is really funny for like the boys team, because they would always be like, nobody talk to the girls right now. Like, they're all like collectively psychopaths and they're like mean. But even though we were in some pain, we ran the hardest. We ran the best when we were on our periods, because we were just like angry at the world for no reason, and we were pissed off that we were running, and we ran better. At least that's what Coach Ledford always said. I don't know if she was just trying to get in our heads and like help us out a little bit, but there were certain times where she was like, you guys run better when you're on your period. And we were like, oh, okay. Well, now I feel better about it. Thanks. So I want to go back and talk about the point system again and exactly how the scoring works. Because like I've already said before, this was the biggest way that we could strategize winning. And this is truthfully what kind of took us to the top. The goal for the point system is to have the least amount of points as possible. With that being said, you want to make sure that everyone, almost everyone from your team crosses the finish line before another team's people cross before you. Does that make any fucking sense? So basically, you just want your team as close together as possible to cross the finish line merely at the same time, ideally. Like, so that's why when in cross country, there's things called packs. So when you're running and your team is in a pack, that's a really, really good thing. Like, if you're running all at the same time, because that means that you're bound to be crossing way before maybe the other teams around you have all of their people crossing. Now, when it's a really bad thing is when your team is like way in the back and you have a whole like team in front of you with all 7 of their men crossing the finish line before you. So ideally, run faster with your entire team crossing the finish line at the same time. That's how you win. We were never fully able to run as a pack together because obviously some of us were faster than others. But when it came to the 4th and the 5th man, me and Lydia that was behind me, we constantly ran in a pack together, constantly. There's so many pictures of us, and there's so many times where you see us running right beside each other for the entire like 30 minutes of the course. Everyone in our school, it was really cool, honestly. Everyone in our school referred to us as the dynamic duo because we paced off of each other and we ran together. And there'd be often times where like if I'm faced neck and neck with another team's 4th girl, which was me, and Lydia was right next to me, we automatically are in a better position because Lydia, being the 5th girl, was faster than their 4th person. That's basically how the point system works. There's a few misconceptions that I also want to mention about cross country. Ideally, people always think that being the fastest makes you the best at running cross country. That is a misconception. That is the biggest lie. If you are a fast runner and you're looking to be in a sport where you just run quickly, then you have to join track, because that is not what cross country is. Cross country is running for a long time. So it's not necessarily about speed. What really helped us is like we could run for a long time, but we were also like fast as shit, because majority of the girls on the cross country team also played soccer with me, and we were kind of already used to running for like 80 minutes straight playing soccer, because you're constantly going back and forth, running back and forth, side to side, lateral, whatever it is on a field. I guess what I'm saying too, if you run cross country and you can run for a long time and you're fast, then you're probably the most ideal runner. But if you are just a sprinter and you're just quick, then that's not good enough to be a cross country runner, because that's like, now you're talking about like a completely different sport, which is like short burst running and shorter stride and, you know, more like different mechanics that are used for cross-country runners. Now that I've mentioned running mechanics, I want to dive in deeper about a few of the issues that I had with running. Coach Ledford had the ability to correct running form. Another misconception about the sport is that you can just wake up and be a natural and be really good at running, but that's not true. You can teach anyone to run properly. There's two things that go into that: breathing technique and form. If you've got those down, you're going to be an incredible runner, and you can teach anyone to do those things. This whole thing of like, well, cross country runners are just like, they're all natural and they're just born really good at running and they're born skinny and da 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 da. Like, no, that is all such a lie, and that's not true. We had like we very much got on the team, and we had to be corrected on our running form. Like, so for example, when I first started running, my arms they would swing back and forth, you know, normally, where you're kind of like, you're moving your arm forward, but then your elbow is like on your side, like almost like you're elbowing someone behind you. Like, that's kind of the form that I would have, which is proper form. But my right arm would kind of like swing across my stomach. Like, it would swing across my chest, like horizontally. So like there would be my left arm that would run vertically, so like back and forth the way it should, but then I would cross with my right. And it was something that is so subtle, you wouldn't really tell, but Coach Ledford was able to tell. And she corrected it. One time when we were practicing, Coach Ledford goes, "Jasmine, you really swing that right arm across your body. We need to fix that." And I just kind of looked at her like, "Well, what do you mean? Like, I swing my arm? Like, am I not supposed to swing my arms when I run?" And she's like, "We need to fix this, because this is probably like, this is the reason why you get side stitches where you're running and then your side hurts and you can't really breathe and da da da." And so, I kid you not, this woman ran up into the woods and she tore a tree branch off of a tree. She comes running back down the hill with this tree branch, and she hands it to me, and she says, "You're going to run with this." And I was like, "What? Why am I running? I can't run with a tree branch. What? Why?" And she goes, "You're going to run with it because every single time that you swing that arm, the branch is going to stab you in the stomach, and you're going to remember to fix your form." And I was like, this is the dumbest thing that I have ever heard in my entire life. I'm not running with a damn tree branch. And every single practice for like 2 or 3 weeks, like, she made me freaking do it. She made me do it every single day. If I had kept the tree branch in my locker, and she had me do it, and let me tell you, lo and behold, this is gonna sound like a freaking miracle out of a movie. It fixed my form. It fixed my form. I ran better. I ran faster. I was able to breathe when I was running, and she was right. And yeah, she always did that kind of stuff to all of us. Like, I remember one time she was like, she would look at our shoes and she would critique our shoes and like give us brands that, like, she would recommend like different brand shoes to us. So like my go-to was always Nike. I would always just run with Nike. My soccer cleats were Adidas. Like, I don't know, that was just kind of my go-to. One time she showed up for practice and she just bought us all like a pair of shoes to run in. They were Brooks. Some of us had Brooks and then some of us had like New Balance. She gave me a pair of Brooks, but she, as a coach, she would just do that. She was so fucking good at what she did, and she was so knowledgeable, and she had done it for many years. Like, she was a cross country coach for 20 years before she retired, and she just knew how to frickin' do it. I kid you not. And she had enough love for us to do that, to take care of us, where, yeah, she would just show up to practice one day and all of us would just have new running shoes, because she was like, I refuse to let you all run with these old grimy shoes. Like, you need to, you like, these are like your horseshoes. Like, you need to have good ones, new ones. You need to fuel your bodies with the proper gasoline. Like, she'd always use these analogies. And she always referred to us as like her racehorses. And that's exactly what we were. Like, that's exactly what we were. The way that we were built, the way that we were so good at what we did. And yeah. So back to where I'm coming from. Yes, when I ran cross country, I had to run with a damn tree branch in my hand, and I had to learn how to correct my form. And the same thing applied to like all of the other ones, where, I don't know, she would make us hold things. She would attach like ankle weights to us and make us run down the hill with them. She would, make us wear weighted vests. She would, whatever the thing was that we needed to excel, she made it happen. Another thing where I'm getting at is how much we actually won. One thing I didn't mention in the beginning is that we won state championship 5 times in a row. 5 years, every single year. We were the number 1 team that won state championship every single year. Like, we were good. We were so fucking good. The thing about it was that even though we would win year after year, we were never, ever, ever a cocky team. Ever. We were never cocky. We never went into the other school here like, we're going to dominate. We're going to be amazing, just like we always are. Like, that was never, ever, ever a thought on our radar, because Coach Ledford would never live a day and let that happen. Like, she humbled us. And like every single year, she was like, we're going to do what we can. Because the thing is that winning never came easy for us. We didn't just go out there year by year and say, like, we're going to win again. We're going to win this year just like we always do. No, because we realized the hard work, the blood, the sweat, and the tears, and the dedication it took to get to state championship. Like, it was never a thing of, like, we've raced against this team before. We know we're going to do really well. We were like, no, last time we were running with shin splints. Last time we were running with a sprained ankle. Last time we were dehydrated. Like, we always remembered what it was like running at these meets, and we never, ever, ever I don't know how else to explain it, but we were never, ever cocky. In fact, we would show up and we would be like terrified. we would be terrified, and we would be because you had such pressure, or we had such pressure on our heads already of like, yeah, we won a state championship, and then we won another one, and then the following year we won another one. By then it was just kind of like we have already done it. Who's to say that we're going to keep the streak going? Like every single year up into the final year, my senior year, our senior year, because we're all in the same grade, we just put everything that we could in that season. We put everything that we could. We were obsessed with it. We ate cross country, we slept cross country, we dreamed cross country, we woke up and we talked about cross country. Everything cross country was our life. And it was just such a surreal part of our team and our family and our journey, and it was so fucking hard, but we loved it. It was amazing. And it's really nice, like years later, like I still have my rings, my cross country state championship rings. They don't fit me anymore because I was literally a walking number 2 skeleton pencil. And I think they're all of my cross country state championships rings are a size 3, and I'm a size like 3.5, 4 now. They don't fit. And then we have like a really, like our senior year, Coach Ledford asked us if we wanted something different. She was like, do you want a necklace, or should we get like a bracelet instead? Like, should we get anything other than a ring? And I don't know who mentioned it, but we came up with the decision of watches. And Coach Ledford's boyfriend at the time, was so nice and amazing to get us those watches. They were really, really nice watches. I still have them. I still have them locked up in a case or something, because I don't just like leave those rings on my dresser or somewhere in my house where I know my cats are going to get to it. Like, they're locked up, they're put away, they're in like a safe, because they're priceless and they mean more to me than, what money would probably cost them. And I'm never getting rid of them. It's a core memory in my life that I have, that I just can't. Sometimes I look at them and I tell the story again, and everyone's like, oh my God, shut the foot. Like, who cares, But that's what happens when you have something in your life that, you're so proud of, and you just can't believe that you got through, Even though I've talked about how amazing the sport is and how much I loved it, I do want to touch base on my injuries, because I feel like, okay, they're now like, we're able to laugh about them now, but there are some that are like, not really super fun. There were 2 injuries that I had that were pretty severe. I had stress fractures on my shin. So that they kind of develop from shin splints, which is a common injury in cross-country runners. After you've had stress fractures from running cross-country, shin splints look like they are nothing. And for those of you who don't know what shin splints are, basically, I'm not going to get too scientific, but it is the worst, like, crystallized. It's the worst pain that you have on your shin bone, basically. There's 3 causes of them that I've gathered over the years. Poor running shoes, tight muscles that surround the joint, which in this case would be like the calf muscle, the ankle, those kind of things. And then just would be poor running form. If you're slamming your feet on the ground really hard, and your feet are not able to like keep up, then that's a pretty difficult cause of the shin splints. Stress fractures are a little bit worse. They it's a fracture, so a bit of your shin bone is torn, I guess. That's the word that I'll use. It's cracked a bit in both of your legs. Very painful. Yep, definitely had that. I have run with sprained ankles. That shit hurts. I've had 2 sprains, but I was also kind of used to sprains because I did also play soccer, and that's a pretty common injury. One thing I'm drifting off. One thing they don't warn you about is how many injuries that you have when you're running. Like, most people play football or soccer or just many other ball sports where you're bound to get hurt. But the injuries in cross country are a little bit different. There's joint and tissue and bone injuries that happen. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily I think there are far more injuries from just solely running cross country than there would be if you were to play a ball sport. And I'm biased, call me biased, call me whatever you want. But where I'm getting at is there are no benches, there are no timeouts, there are no breaks when you're running cross country like there would be if you're playing a sport, like a ball sport, And in cross country, you have 30 consecutive minutes of uninterrupted time that you have to put in to just solely running. And sometimes it's it's pushing yourself way past the limit that you had in the beginning of the race. So that's where I'm coming from, is that the injuries are from pure exhaustion and improper framework and all of these things. I remember I had a knee injury or a hip injury one time, and the doctor was like, you need to be strength training. You need to be doing some lateral movements, which lateral is side to side, right? So lateral lunges or a Cossack squat or something like that. You need to be doing those movements because when you're running, your legs and your arms are only going in one direction, back and forth, constantly. You're not like soccer where you're moving in a full 360 or you're moving in different directions. Runners just go back and forth, back and forth. So there's often times where there's muscles, certain muscles in your glutes or certain muscles, in your hamstrings that have the ability for you to go sideways, and those become weak and underdeveloped because those are just not the movements that you're doing in that sport. So I would go to the doctor, and they would say you should be doing these specific exercises, or not a physical therapist, and they would say stuff to me like that. So that's something I definitely had to correct. There's one particular injury that I had that was pretty crazy for me. It's this beautiful thing that is called iliac apophysitis. I could say that wrong, but I think that's how you say it. Iliac apophysitis, basically, and just as an overview, it's basically when the fibers on your hip joint crystallize and, for lack of a better word, just start stabbing into your hip joint. Let me actually look up the definition because I don't want to tell you anything wrong. It says that it's pain and inflammation where the muscle attaches to the top part of the bone. It usually happens in growing teens, especially those who play sports that involve running. Here's what's going on. The apophysitis is a growth area made of cartilage where tendons attach to the bone. Where it's overused or pulled too hard by strong muscles, it can get irritated or inflamed. So basically, I went to the doctor, and they said that my muscle fibers were splitting from my hip bone because I was going through puberty and my hips were expanding and things were moving and growth plates were turning. And because I was doing high intensity exercise, extreme exertion to my body at the same time that I was growing, my muscles and my muscles were not able to catch up to my growth plates and my hips. So that caused me intense pain. So on the sides, you have like your hip that kind of like protrudes out of your side a little bit, like protrudes out of your stomach area. So on once it was my right side where I had the most pain. It literally felt like I had just like a really sharp, like pinching pain on my hip. And sometimes the only way to relieve it was just like to hang upside down and like stretch it. Um, which is exactly what they told me to do. They just said constant stretching and icing and, you know, massage guns, and that's all you pretty much have to do. I mean, like, I just stretched it too far. And so I did that. But then it got gradually worse because they told me that I should not be running. And boy, did I not listen to them, because no way that I was going to take off the season. Another thing, too, I'm trying to remember. I think this was my third year that this happened. So I was a sophomore in high school. I was also a late bloomer. Pretty much everyone of my friends like started their period and hit puberty in like the 8th grade, and I was like one of the last girls in my class, a sophomore. I was like almost 16 years old, and I am getting my freaking period for the first time. So that was me. And I think that's around the time when it was happening. Like, I was just hitting puberty and my muscles were just not able to keep up, and I continuously kept running cross country and not stopping, and I think I made it worse. To the point where now I had the other side. So I had my left side messed up with the same problem. At one point it was just my right hip, but because I would not stop, it became my left hip also. So I had to run with a TINS unit. If you don't know what a TINS unit is, it's basically like these little stickers that you place on your body that are attached to a really teeny tiny thin wire that attaches to a machine. So you have like this whole contraption that will release electrical like signals, like shocking like signals to your body to stimulate the muscles. So I was doing that. And then I had to run with something like that. I thought that it was kind of like I thought it was kind of like something that I just kind of had to like lay on the table for 30 minutes and just let it like stimulate my muscles. But I actually had to hold it like this little handheld. It looked like a Walkman or like a phone kind of thing, where, yeah, it looked like I was like running with an iPod Touch, and like the headphones were just like somewhere placed on my body, like in my pocket. Like the earphones were in my pocket, but then I was running with the AirPod with like this loose wire. It was so weird, but I had to run like that for like a month because that was like that was the recovery regimen that they gave me for it. I didn't have to go through surgery, thank God, because if I would have had to go through surgery, I would have sent myself into orbit. That would just terrified me. But from what I remember, it was very, very, very painful, but I remember that it didn't last for a very long time. My running form was horrible though. My stride was like 1 foot away. It was just not, my form was terrible. I was like placed in the 7th like spot where frickin' principal's daughter Sarah was. It was a nightmare because I just wasn't able to run at my potential, but I was healing. Like, I was icing 24/7. Like, before practice, I would run with the TINS unit. After practice, I'd ice again, and then I could take the TINS unit home, and then I would do it before bed, and then I would sleep. Like, it felt like every single day I had this freaking TINS unit on me. And honestly, it worked. It worked miracles, because I remember, like, like I said, even though it was painful, I did not have it for that long, and it did actually heal me faster. So maybe, I mean, that also made me think that it wasn't that traumatic on my body, because I didn't have to go through surgery. My body just kind of rested when it could, and it healed when it could. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, I had like massage guns at home. I had like ice packs. I would like ice it. Like anytime I wasn't running, I was doing something. Like both of my feet were elevated because I had to put my hip in a position when I was sitting to where it wasn't causing me any pain. And then I would use the TINS unit. It was kind of fun, like getting a lot of attention because I literally had like an electric like thing on me. So sometimes I would like be around my friends at lunch and I would like put the sticker on them and then turn up the machine like it was a freaking period simulator, and I would just be like, can you feel it now? Like, can you feel it? It was kind of funny, like getting all that attention at one point, but which, you know, I'm kind of crazy, but yeah, that injury, that's an injury that I had from running. That was horrible. That sucked, aside from my stress fractures. My fractures came later. Like my senior year, which is like my 4th or 5th year. And then the iliac apophysitis was much earlier. Like I said, it was like my 3rd year. I also too, I ended up getting way more injuries like later in my cross country career because I was like pushing myself harder and harder and harder. Like the first 2 years, it was just like, you know, form maintenance and trying to get a feel for like the running. But then like at that point, I got so addicted to the sport that I was like, I need to push my limits. Like if I'm not running with my brains popped out of my ears, like I'm not pushing myself hard enough. Like I don't know what it was, but I loved it. And I've never broken a bone in my entire life. I've only ever gotten sprains and fractures, but I've never like fully broken a bone. And I think like I've never had a cast or anything like that. And I think that like kept me going with it, where I was like, well, I'm still alive, or like I'm still going, I'm still trucking along, and like I don't have a broken bone, or like my feet still work, so I'm just going to keep running, or like can I move my hip? Like am I limited on range of motion now? They would tell me no, and I'd be like, okay, I'm going back out. Like I don't know, when you're like in high school, like no one can ever tell you to stop. Like once you love something and once you're addicted to something, like you can just go, and truly no one can say anything to you. So that's the situation that it was for me. Coach Ledford loved me, and she was also of the same mindset. She's like, if you're not hospitalized and if you're not in too much pain today, then run. And I was like, okay, we're telepathic, we are connected, I'm with you. Like we are here, we're doing it. And that's exactly what it was. There were just a lot of practices and a lot of meets where I would just be on painkillers. Like, honestly, like, pop in, like, 3 ibuprofens for 30 minutes, and then you wouldn't feel the pain until after the meet was over. Like, the second, like, I can't tell you how many sprained ankles I've run on, where I would just, like, ice it the whole bus ride there, or, like, all day during school, and then pop in a few painkillers, do the meet, after the meet, re-ice, and like I would look down and my entire foot is like purple because I just wanted to get it done, and I was like, well, I don't feel pain right now. And plus two, there's something about like the adrenaline, like when you show up for a meet, there's something about where I just forget, like I black out and I just like forget that I'm in pain, and I'm like, oh no, I'm fine. Like I got it. Like I'm not even going to push myself too hard, which is always a freaking lie. But there was something about like, all I have to do is like hold my willingness to run for 30 minutes, and then I'll be fine. Like, and then I recover. Like, I would literally, like, I was psychopath. Like, I would literally, like, look on my phone, like, can I get nerve damage from, like, running on a sprained ankle? I wouldn't see anything about it, and then I would just run on it anyways. Well, I have a sprained ankle. Nothing else worse than this can happen. So that was my whole thought process doing the whole running with injuries game that I would play. I can't remember if I already talked about this, about peeing myself while I was running, so I'm going to mention it again. The first time I did it was during a meet, and then after that it was like, well, if it happens at practice, then it happens. I was running a meet, and it was a really, really, really hot location where there were not a lot of trees. And so we were told to just chug a bunch of water all day long in school so that we would be hydrated for the meet. So like I was just charged up on like freaking water and electrolytes. got to the meet. We had porta potties. My stubborn ass like didn't want to go and use a porta potty because gross. And so I kind of like held my pee, but then in the middle of the race, I was like running and I was like, oh my God, I literally have never had this feeling before. I have to pee so freaking bad. And yeah, I peed on myself. It was very little, and it was honestly towards like the end of the race, which was really cool because then right after that I was like able to like sneak off and like go like put my ego aside and use a porta potty anyways. But yeah, at first glance, like I definitely went and I freaking just peed all over myself. That happened to us a lot too. Like honestly, I wasn't even the only one, and it, as weird and ridiculous as it sounds, as disgusting as it sounds, it was kind of the norm. Like we didn't do it all the time, but like if it happened, it was like, well, that means that you're doing something, sis. Like that means that you're doing really well. And you're pushing yourself, which means that that's good for us. You were almost praised for peeing on yourself than you would be if like you didn't, as weirdly as that sounds. So that kind of became a norm, as well as like throwing up. Like it was almost like worse if you threw up because they were like, oh my God, like, are you okay? Like, what do you have in your stomach? You know, like, I don't know, like peeing on yourself isn't as like dangerous as like passing out. Like passing out was the worst one. Collapsing on the ground, face planting in the middle of a practice, like that, you know, that sucked. But it was like, if you peed on yourself, it was just kind of like, okay, well, you have to go, you have to go. You know, you just wipe it with like a leaf that you found in the woods, and then you just like keep going. I want to mention too, I want to say, I was talking earlier about like the strategies that we would do, things that we would do to, you know, strategize the meets and like help us. One of the things that I did not mention that I just thought of, we studied the other teams that we were up against like no one's business. I'm not kidding. We knew the rosters. We knew the girls and their names. We knew what their mile times were. Like Coach Ledford studied these girls. It was like, as I don't know if it's like creepy or illegal, but we were almost like the freaking CIA or like the FBI or whatever the tense is. Like we studied these girls that we were racing against right before a meet. Like I remember at some practices we talk about it like I like Jennifer's mile time, she's like the number 3rd man on the team and her mile time is like 6:34, and we were like, okay, like we got that. We can do 6:34 or like whatever it was. Like we always attended a meet and we knew exactly who we were up against. Exactly. Like we studied them like the back of our hands. Sometimes it would be pretty like mentally draining if you're constantly like getting in your head about who you're playing or who you're up against or what their strategy is and whatnot. But Coach Ledford had to be involved in like the situation, and she had to be involved in like, yeah, what we were doing. And so she would be at practice and she would tell us like, hey, there's a girl from like the opposing team from like the West school that does this, or her mile time is this. We would know these girls' injuries and these girls' past injuries. She would like she had such a connection with the teams and the coaches too, to some extent, where like I don't even know how she knew some of this information, but like she'd come to me and she'd be like, hey, we're running a meet on Saturday and their number 4th man has a sprained ankle or has stress like fractures or whatever, like shin splints or something. And I would like, she would tell me because that would like weirdly make me like push harder. And that would just help me be aware of like, okay, like maybe I don't have to like, or like there would be other times where I would just like push myself super hard and then I would show up at the meet and I'd be like, okay, I don't really have to like try as hard. And it was weirdly reassuring for me, because if there wasn't another important meet like after that one that was more important, then I would know, like, okay, conserve your energy a little bit for the following one. Like, I don't know, it was weirdly like a strategizing like mind game that it was always with us, where we just knew exactly what it was that we were getting ourselves into. Again, like I said, I don't know if that's illegal, and I don't know if that. It's also, okay, how can it be illegal when it's like literally public information? Like, any school could look up the archives about like what we were and who we were and what our mile times were. Like, it was kind of posted anywhere, because there was a under like the GS, what's it called? It's GHSA. That's Georgia High School Association, where we would integrate our sports and our rosters and everything. All of our information was there. So oftentimes we would go there and we would just look up all of these girls. But I mean, yeah, like that's like kind of what we do. And it really helped us, and it really was to our advantage. So there were all types of these strategies that we always just strategized a meet. I think that's truly what brought us to the top, that brought us to win 5 years in a row, because we were prepared. We knew what we were getting ourselves into. We did the best that we could year by year, and we weren't like nasty. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, you know, when you like watch these movies of these like players that are more like, they're cocky and they just like kind of know in their head that they're going to win, and then they play dirty. Like, that was never us. That was never ever us. We were the complete opposite. We knew everything about everyone, but we were like stealth mode. Like, we rolled out on there and people were looking at us like, oh my God, they're so little, or like, oh my God, like they don't know what it is that they're doing. And then we were just like the freaking underdogs that would just like power through and win every single time. And we would show up to meets and just lay all the cards on the table and just did the best that we could. The last 2 points that I have, I want to touch base on who Coach Ledford was to me as an individual, other than a coach, as well as just a few things that I've carried into my daily life today about the sport, and just a few things that it taught me. First of all, Coach Ledford was more than just a cross-country coach to me. She was like an emotional twin, as weirdly as I sound. Like, for some reason, I always connected with her. You know, sometimes I would share things with her and talk to her, and then vice versa. She would share things with me. She didn't have any kids. She wasn't married. She just had a huge love for her dog, and she was like dating this one guy. And that's all she really would like talk about. She would just talk about like her life. She was proud of her education. She was proud of her work. She was a highly, highly educated woman. Okay. One thing that I loved about her was just like how smart she was, and how like analytical and strategic she was. And everyone in the entire school believed it. Everyone had mad respect for that woman. Mad respect. Coach Ledford was like, she meant everything to the school. All the teachers knew it. All the sports knew it. She was so fucking smart. And she was like, even though she didn't have any kids, she had this maternal thing on us. Like, she saw us as her children. And like, for someone being proud of their sport and their coaching, and then for kids that of her own to like want to do a good job for her, like, that is just an unbreakable bond. Like, we wanted to make her proud, and we wanted to do really well for her. And there was such a huge respect that we had for her, and such a deep understanding that she had of us. Like, it wasn't like we were these it wasn't like we were these chained up racehorses that were like beaten to death. You know, like, we weren't these circus animals for her to just like, that were like tortured into doing like whatever she wanted. Like, she wanted whatever we wanted, and we wanted to win, and so did she. And she helped us get there, and she cared about us. And oftentimes, like, she would take us home after practices if, like, our parents were working late. She, like I said before, she would buy us shoes. She would buy us food. Like, I can't tell you how many times she, like, brought us, like, food to eat after practices. And she just had such a maternal strength in us. And it made us like a family. It really did. And as like cringy as that probably sounds, and as like boring and ridiculous like that word is when people talk about like, oh my God, my team is a family, but it really was. It really, really was. We were so close. Like, we hung out outside of school with her. You know, we hung out, like, we would just do cool things. We did like a corn maze with her one time after school, and it was just us, like 7 of us, a few of our other friends, and then her. And it was so much fun. And that just tells you everything you need to know about her and who she was. I don't want to say that I was her favorite, but I want to say that at one point I definitely thought that I was like the closest one to her out of everyone on the team, because we were just like, I don't know, we just like weirdly connected with each other. Like, I don't know if she saw herself in me. She probably would never tell me that, but like, I don't know. It was weird. Like, everyone in the schools thought that like we like were twins. Like, we even looked alike because we were built kind of the same way. We were the same height and we had like the same hair color. So we genuinely like looked like the same people. And I don't know, we just, not only was it like a connection that like I felt with her, but it was also like everyone else saw the connection that we had, and everyone else like believed it too, that we were so close and this and that. Like, to this day, she's the sole reason why I even became a coach, and I decided to do what I do. I don't even know if I'm allowed to share this, but she's also the reason that I started acting, because her boyfriend at the time was involved in that career, and I showed interest in it from him, and he kind of like took me under his wing, which I will explain that on another day. But yeah, she's kind of the reason to this day as to like why I chose like certain career paths for myself. She was just a big part of my development, I would say. I keep saying like she was. Like, I still talk to her to this day, actually. She's alive and well, and she's very healthy. And you know, I'll like follow her on Instagram, or I'll like send her a text and say like Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday. Like, we still like chat here and there. And she still sees like everything that I do in my life, and vice versa. She did end up retiring from cross country. She was a cross country coach for about 20 years. And she graduated after the year that we graduated, because all of the girls on the team, we were all in the same grade. There was not a single girl on that team that was different. All 7 of us were seniors. The only 7 girls on that roster were all in the same grade. So we graduated at all the same time. And I'm sure there was a brand new cross country coach, and there was a brand new cross country team, because I mean, they had to like legitimately start fresh. But she loved us so much that I don't think that she wanted to coach another team without us. Like, even though she loved the career and she loved the sport, I think she loved us deeper. She was just like, I don't want to do this without you guys. And so my senior year, we finished out state championships, and then she retired. And it was a very beautiful moment for all of us, because we were seniors and we were leaving high school. None of us were going to take cross country to college. I personally, for me, I wasn't as good to be in college level. I mean, even though we won 5 years in a row and we were insane athletes, I didn't think that I truly, at that time, I didn't think I was ever going to go to college. That's a topic for another day. And I didn't think that I was ever going to, even if I did go to college, like, I was just not going to do cross country. Because at that point, like, I had so many injuries and vitamin deficiencies that I was like, I can't like keep doing this to my body long term. So even though she retired, I retired as well. I have not run ever since then. I I have put the shoes away. All I have left now is the memories, and I'm okay with that. Like I don't miss it. I became a coach myself, and I can now coach like other people who may want to learn running and vice versa from the things that I've done, but I am not a runner at all. Like I've lost all of my flexibility, I've lost all of my like endurance, all of my agility, none of that. Like my stamina is at an all-time low. And I'm not afraid to admit that. It probably takes me like 30 minutes to do 1 mile now. Like I am not built like that in any means. I also like something clicked in my brain like emotionally where I was like I don't feel confident in the way that I look. And I want to train in a different way so that I can like train to look a certain way. Because when I was running, I was built like a freaking like metal pole. Like I had like no boobs, no butt. Like I was not your stereotypical like womanly body. And I wanted that whenever I wrapped up cross country. So I was strength training and eating more and, growing into my curves a bit. But other than all of that, there's so many takeaways, so many things that I've learned from that sport to this day. Like, I mean, just discipline, pushing yourself to the limits and setting goals for yourself and going through with them and achieving them. Like, there's just countless, infinite things that I learned from a sport and from that sport in specific. And I just look at it and see it as nothing but beautiful and blissfulness and just so fucking cool. Like so cool. Like come on, we won 5 times in a row. Like who can do that? It was so amazing that time. I'm trying to think right now if there's anything else that I have listed here that I did not mention. I try to do an outline of every podcast episode that I do just so that I don't let my mind wander or I don't forget things that, certain things that I want to talk about. So I'm looking off of this list right now. I didn't touch too base on vitamin deficiencies. I want to say, I don't know if these are things that you are born with or you develop over time, but I definitely, I would personally say that I developed a lot of vitamin deficiencies when I was running cross country. I have a severe iron deficiency. I get dizzy so easily, and I have to take an iron supplement all the time. But also, I feel like that's kind of common. I don't really know if that's just me. I also have a B12 deficiency. I'm always tired, and even when I drink caffeine, I don't, it doesn't even really do much to me. It doesn't really, wake me up. I'm at this point in my life where caffeine does nothing for me but raise my heart rate and give me anxiety. I think I'm at this point where the only thing that will wake me up is electrocution. And I it's sad to say, but I don't know if that's a vitamin deficiency or what it is, but I take B12 and B6 to keep my energy levels at. Also, don't just take vitamins that you go to a doctor, have a blood panel done, have someone tell you which vitamins to take. Don't just read Google and say oh, I have no energy, I'm going to take B12. Okay, find out what the thing is in your body and actually have a professional tell you. I didn't talk too much about the diet aspect of cross country. I made slight comments about her nutrition certification and how she would recommend certain things to us, but in terms of we were never really on diets. There were just little things where of course she would ask us what we had for breakfast or what we had for dinner that would like help us like the day for like the day of practice, or for the meet. Like sometime, like every single time before meet, she would tell us to like carb load. So we would go to like an Italian restaurant together, and like she would want all of us to like order pasta and something like that. Um, so and then but there were other times like when if we would ever be at the restaurant together, or just go and get food together, then she would make like she would have us do like certain things. So, like we would get like pizza together, and then she would have us dab off all of the grease off of the pizza with napkins so that the pizza legitimately just has sauce and cheese and like no grease. And we always ate pizza like that. Like I think like always, 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 always. So even to this day, like sometimes, like if there's way too much grease, like I still do that where I'm like, oh, this has too much grease. Like let me have a napkin and like dab some of it off because it was legit like something that she had us do all the time. So that's one thing. Um, Another thing that's really cool, we were always given free shit all the time because like we were highly, highly, highly respected in my school. Like I know it's kind of stereotypical, but like if you go to like high school and stuff, there's always like the football team, cheerleaders, or that are like the popular ones, like are like the cool ones, and then like the band kids are like the weird ones, and then you have like all your other sports that people don't really like care about. That was not like it for our school. For one thing, our football team sucked. I can't even remember a single time that like we actually won like a football game that we deserved to win. And in our school, cross country was like the shit. Everyone loved us because everyone knew that we were like good and that we were gonna win. And so we would just always get like congratulated and like get invited to like cool stuff, and then like we would just be given like free food all the time. For one other thing, I think we got free food because people saw the way we looked and they felt bad for us. They were like, damn, these kids are starved and they're running for fun, like clearly they're like twisted up there, we need to help them. But like there were certain times during school when like a whole like 3-tier cake from a local bakery would just like gift us this cake that we would share together at lunch. And then Coach Ledford would like freaking scrape the icing off or something like that and then give it to us. That is so something that she would do. But yeah, we were always, or like Italian restaurants, like people knew that we would go to like a big meet the day after, and they would just let us like eat at their restaurant for free. And yeah, so that was really cool. That was so amazing, that how much the community just loved us and how many people respected us. Like everyone was involved in the sport. I can't, like, we were one of the main sports that had like a student section at our cross country meets. Like our school got involved in our cross country meets. It was the coolest thing ever. And yeah, no, it was awesome, and I don't take it for granted. Like even to this day, like I'm just like, this is the coolest thing to be involved in. There's countless things that I can say about this sport of mine, but that's all I have for you guys today. I may make a part 2, probably not. We shall see. But I just wanted to share with you that story. Sorry if it was long. Sorry if it was all over the place. Thank you for listening. And I shall see you guys in the next one. Okay? Bye.